Part 48. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 473. Most of the path information on the notes was selflessly contributed by Ishiro after the ghostly spirits became a disaster. After all, although she is walking the way of magic, if the whole world is destroyed and there are no ordinary people who enjoy and produce goods, it will be very boring. It's a pity that some people always think that she is still hiding, and she has hidden a lot. He even called that notebook the God's Notebook, thinking that it recorded the path to becoming a god. This is really a joke, but Ishiro will sometimes acquiesce. She likes to watch those greedy people come to her door one by one, and then she bestows the deepest despair. But today, the weight of the visitor seems a little too heavy. Madame's contribution, our secret agency has always remembered, and we will never arrest, we only need that notebook. Haig said in a deep voice. From behind him, both Hawkeye and Black Cunt came out. Black Hand's right palm was broken and completely rotten, but he installed another bloody palm for himself, which seemed to be quite useful. Not only that. Around the store, the bright sunlight faded away. Instead, there is a black iron-colored flower bead, where bewitching red flowers are in full bloom. If you look from the outside, you will find that the original beverage store has been completely stripped from the real world. 3 weird kings, 1 giant, really think highly of me. Ishiro murmured, I haven't seen such a big battle for many years. She took out a black notebook that she kept close to her all the time. Do you want it? All around, the environment suddenly changed. A small road that didn't know where it started and had no end emerged, and the misty drizzle fell down, rapidly growing in size. This scene quickly covered the original beverage store. In the dense fog, some damaged figures emerged. Ms. Ishiro. Haig watched this scene. He touched the ring on his right hand. You don't seem to be promoted to the 5th type. The strange suppression of each other can have obvious induction. Seeing this scene, Black Hand sneered and stretched out his left hand. Although his right hand was useless, and a strange bloody palm was grafted in, the black hole on his left hand was still there. Suddenly, his left hand came near those broken figures, opened a black hole, and the vortex continued to expand. There seemed to be a disgusting tongue in it. With just one roll, it circled the controlled puppet and swallowed it. On the ground, a coquettish flower blooms. This is the gardener's domain ability to suppress Ishiro. Ishiro has not been promoted to the 5th type. Facing the siege of the 2 strange kings, it seems a bit difficult. But Haig did not relax. He looked around vigilantly. Ms. Ishiro, according to Mr. Kaishi's last words, you seem to have cultivated some special abilities. That is your real support. That bastard, my mother should have chopped him down to be as short as me. Ishiro cursed. Looking at the approaching crowd, all kinds of strange abilities began to retreat steadily, but she didn't panic. She smiled and said, yes, I also practiced an alchemy called the Luo Cave Mystery View, which can predict misfortunes and blessings. It has protected me from many dangers in the long years. I dare to appear here today because I know that I will be able to escape from danger. The ability to predict is indeed extremely rare, but the future is changeable. Even if you can successfully predict 100 times, you may make a mistake once. Haig said expressionlessly. You can try. There was a dangerous gleam in Ishiro's eyes. Outside the city blocked by gray fog, several spirit eliminators began to meet. A large-scale blockade of another dimension. Even the king of weirdness can't break it. The people inside are dead. Maybe after killing all those people, the ghost will still move. I heard that it has been confirmed by the secret agency as an unknowable level, the highest level of danger. What should we do? There are still some important people in the city, and someone offered us a lot of money to recruit them. There is no way but to give up. Wait. Look. A spirit remover suddenly widened his eyes and pointed in the direction of the city. There, the thick gray fog curled inward, turning into a cloud of gray clouds, and began to move rapidly. Hurry up and report to the higher UPS, the spooky spirit has started to move. This speed is getting faster and faster, close to the speed of sound? No, it has exceeded it. Could it be that everyone in the city has been killed? The voice of the last spirit remover was trembling, and he made a guess. All the spirit removers trembled. If true, it would be a world-class disaster. The natural disasters that can move cannot be solved, and the killing speed is extremely fast, and human beings may be wiped out in a short time. But the next moment, they saw some survivors rushing out of the city frantically. These people originally wanted to escape from the city, but were blocked by the gray fog. At this time, the gray fog withdrew, and they naturally ran to the outside world immediately. No. That ghost didn't kill everyone. Perhaps, it's because they don't conform to the law of killing? Quick, this is important information and must be reported immediately. Within the space of different dimensions, the heavy rain became meager, and a layer of plant-covered grass garden suddenly appeared on the no-loop. After Haig, the giant, also made a move, Ishiro was still defeated. She was standing in the corner of the beverage store, holding a black notebook in both hands. Haig took a step forward, as if leading a group of bullies who were bullying a little girl. "Ma'am, you can't be promoted to the 5th type, which is enough to prove the difficulty of this rank, and we can work together." "Bah, I live longer than you want to trick me?" Ishiro was so angry that she seemed to see a strange sorghum who wanted to trick the little girl with a lollipop. "That's a pity." Haig moved on. Just then, the surrounding environment changed. The vines and flowers withered, and the rain fell again. The gardener appeared among the crowd with a pale expression. "This kind of suppression, is that ghost, it has arrived." "What?" The ones who reacted the most were Black Hand and Hawkeye. As contacts, they certainly knew the horror of that eerie spirit. "But why is it here? Even if you kill all the people in that city, shouldn't you randomly choose a place with a lot of people around it?" Unknowable ghosts. Haig looked at Ishiro. "You attracted me? If I say, I only know that there is no danger here, would you believe me?" Ishiro replied with a sneer. As soon as the words fell, the figure of a young man appeared in the shop. He was dressed in modern clothes, and his eyes were no longer covered with a layer of dead gray. All the spirit removers retreated quickly, leaving a large area behind. Ishiro looked at this person, with both surprise and doubt in his eyes. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 474. Unknowable Ghost. Haig looked at Fang Xian with fear on his face, and looked at the gardener. The gardener shook his head, his voice dry. "My ability has been suppressed, and I can't take you out of this weird space. Now, it is the master here. Damn it, the only second agnostic case in the world, why did I bump into it again?" Black Kund and Hawkeye were very depressed, and they wanted to hit the wall in depression. "I have to do my best. Encountering this ghost is really something I didn't expect in advance." Haig's voice remained firm. At this moment, they saw Fang Xian move. With a light step, he seemed to travel through space, and came to Ishiro's side, and stretched out that terrifying palm. Ishiro was stunned. Perhaps, she had been terribly suppressed. This ageless witch became the first target of the spooky spirit's attack, and she is very likely to fall. With a flash of eyes, Haig and the others came to this conclusion. Alchemy is well practiced. Fang Xian stroked Ishiro's head with a gentle and encouraging tone. Ishiro squinted her eyes like a cat, then opened them suddenly, and there seemed to be little stars in them. "Teacher! Teacher! No! How could the ghosts speak?" Hawkeye's eyeballs almost popped down. The one who was more horrified than him was Haig. As the leader of the secret agency, he certainly knows who the teacher of the immortal witch Ishiro is. He is, that taboo in history. No. How could it be that existence? The appearance and ability are completely different. There is no doubt that it has become even scarier. Didn't he go to that world with Jia Wei and others? What happened to that world afterwards? Why would it be destroyed? It has always been the truth that the secret agency is trying to find. Haig was terrified. With a little excitement. This world has been in despair for too long. And the ghost on the opposite side seems to represent some kind of truth and hope. Even if there is no hope, he must know the truth and die, instead of dying at the hands of the ghost one day without any reason. It's me. Fang Xian smiled and looked at Haig. What are you planning to do to my students? Haig and the others were shocked immediately. No. We just want to make a deal with Ms. Ishiro. Haig bit the bullet and came out to explain. The next moment, Fang Xian grabbed him by the neck with one hand. On his right hand, the ring wanted to shine, but the next moment it made a sound of shattering, turning into debris and falling to the ground. What are you doing? Several spirit eliminators stepped forward and used their strange abilities. The next moment, pieces of flesh and blood fell off their faces, and they died instantly. On the contrary, the three strange kings, Black Hand, Hawkeye, and Gardner, kept silent and watched all this. Hold, sorry. Haig's face was purple, and he squeezed out a sentence. Although that ring is not his real ability, it is also a very powerful and strange thing. As a result, it was destroyed like this. Not only is it destroyed, but even the traits are not retained. This directly broke the law summarized by the spirit remover, and the meaning it represented made him shudder even more. The young man opposite may be the real God. Isn't it over if you admit your mistake early? Why do you have to be stubborn? Fang Xian threw it away casually. Haig fell to the side and broke his neck. But it doesn't matter, he quickly got up, grabbed his head and twisted it, then pressed it back again. Aisha Luo smiled, watching the scene, letting Fang Xian handle it. Okay, I'm not here this time for you. Fang Xian waved his hand, you can go. How could Haig leave? Now, he really saw the opportunity to solve another unknowable ghost. Sir, are you interested in another horrific and weird case? He asked loudly, suppressing his fear. Oh. You are very courageous, tell me. Fang Xian's eyes lit up. I don't know, because knowing is a curse, so I voluntarily forgot. Haig quickly replied, if Sir wants to know, I will send the confidential information to you immediately. Is knowing a curse? Fang Xian nodded, this is indeed part of the characteristics of the 7th level. It seems that the unknowable weirdness that Haig talked about is undoubtedly the embodiment of madness. Speaking of, this world has changed a lot. Fang Xian sighed, tell me about it. Okay, teacher. Aisha Luo nodded quickly, I have been wandering around the world for hundreds of years, and I know this best. Ha ha. Fang Xian laughed loudly, then tell me, well, I have recently perfected some alchemist exercises, which I can pass on to you. He stretched out a finger and tapped on Aishiro's forehead. A torrent of information rushed over immediately. It was the revised alchemy and the information of the first 5 levels of alchemists. As for the 6th grade? That's a hole, a big hole. Aisha Luo's eyes lit up, she nodded quickly, and described the changes in the world since Fang Xian left. With her narrative, Haig added that Fang Xian had a clear grasp of the development of this world. Sure enough, after the destruction of the strange source world, it brought profound changes to this world. The most important thing is the appearance of strange human figures, which they call strange spirits. Fang Xian took a sip of the drink that Aisha Luo sent, thinking silently in his heart. The appearance of the spooky spirit should be caused by Wen Rengzio's last crazy plan. She made the people of Dawn City give up their bodies, fuse with weird things with their minds, pass through the gate of the world, and come to this world to avoid destruction. The crisis, so the ghost has a human form. If I look carefully one by one, maybe I will find a few familiar faces. But, this method really has flaws. They seem to have lost their minds, influenced by weird instincts, only know how to kill? No, that's not right. Wen Rengzia wanted the people of Don City to survive in the end, but it certainly wasn't in such a way that life was worse than death. Therefore, this plan has flaws and hidden traps, and the king didn't see it back then. I smell the familiar smell, true lies. This strange thing seems to contain some secrets, and even directly caused Wuyan's madness and the original strange appearance. What it is best at is to use part of the truth to deceive. It now looks like Wen Rengzia was also miserably deceived after Wu Dark. Fang Xian even suspected that it did not perish with that world, but came to this world. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 475. Haig was very disturbed. Looking at the legendary existence, if possible, he would like to kneel on the ground and plead. It's a pity that it's useless, because the other party is not human at all. There may not be emotions such as pity. However, the life and death of this world depends on the other party's thought. This is a terrible torment for all spirit removers. Is it an unknowable ghost? Hearing that at the end, besides himself, there was a very scary spooky spirit appearing, Fang Xian smiled lightly. He knew very well that that was his goal this time. It's just that it's a little strange to agree so readily. Why should I help you? Fang Xian looked at Haig and asked indifferently. Sir, we are willing to pay any price, as long as it is available. Haig said shyly. He. Fang Xian chuckled lightly. Just when Haig was about to despair, he heard Fang Xiandao, it looks interesting too, so, my condition is, all of you present this time, come with me to get in touch with that weird spirit. There is no doubt that they are to be used as cannon fodder and bait for pathfinding. But Haig was almost overjoyed and agreed, of course, thank you sir. Then, I will go to the headquarters of the secret agency later. Fang Xian pulled Aisha Luo, and the figures of the two disappeared quickly. Here it is. Aisha Luo looked at the strange city around her. Compared with other human gathering places, it seemed too desolate and broken here. I just found a random place. There must be some kind of natural disaster. The outer area is blocked, so it's suitable for me to rest for a while. I have some fate with you. Fang Xian said casually. His rest is the time to go crazy. He didn't pay attention last time, but this time, if he can, he doesn't mind finding an uninhabited wilderness area and quietly waiting for the time to pass. At this time, standing on the desolate street, the surrounding environment is inexplicably different. It seems that because of the intrusion of outsiders, a strange killing mechanism was induced. A melodious and ancient music sounded from behind the half-closed shop door. I remembered, it turned out to be here, the city where no man's music sounded. This is a natural disaster level weirdness confirmed by the secret agency. It has no specific form, it is just a piece of music, and it will automatically play without a sound machine. The only trigger condition is that there are humanoid creatures nearby. Aisha Luo murmured, it has no body and cannot be detained. After killing all the people in the city, the secret agency can only completely block it, to limit its spread. Suddenly, the music changed and became hoarse and terrifying. The ear-piercing sound like fingernails scratching the glass was accompanied by the screams of countless people, which seemed to be full of resentment. Aisha Luo snorted, and dark red blood seeped out of Xiaoyang's skirt. She has become the target of the curse, fighting against the invisible and unsolvable curse. Even the king of weirdness can easily lose in such a duel. Because after all, she retains human consciousness and has weaknesses, but the strangeness on the other side does not. Give me, annihilation. Aishiro screamed, and the dark red light swept across, covering the surrounding streets. Suddenly, the entire block was melting, being consumed by a strange force. The music stopped. But it only stopped for a few seconds before it started to ring again. Intangible and qualityless, meme spread, no body. Fang Xian smiled, and stretched out his hand to grab the void in front of him. A pitch-black long worm was grabbed by his palm. It looked like an earthworm or a worm. On the surface were the screaming and distorted faces of countless people, constantly radiating terror. It tried hard to blur, but was imprisoned by a force, unable to do this. The ear-piercing music continued to emanate from it, and suddenly became 10 times louder. "Give me peace." Fang Xian frowned and gave a soft drink. The long worm suddenly felt as if it had been hit hard, as if it was dead, and fell limply. "Teacher, you suppressed this natural disaster-level weirdness." Complete and thorough suppression, this weirdness, was solved. Aisha Luo widened his eyes. "It's true that it has no form, but I let it have it, and it has." Fang Xian put his fingers together and crushed the darkness. The long worm slowly disappeared, and the traits fell out one by one. If they are seen by the spirit removers outside, they must be extremely jealous. As long as they absorb these qualities in a certain order and survive, they can gain strength, become the king of weirdness, and become a real big shot. This is the power and characteristics of the true God level. Fang Xian looked at the scene and thought calmly. If being weird is to distort the rules, my power is to squeeze the rules of the world, in my domain, whether there are rules or not, and how to formulate the rules. I have the final say, crushing everything, overriding on top of everything. This is a trace of Deluo's might. He looked at Aisha Luo. "I feel that these characteristics are more suitable for your path, and they can probably complete the last piece of the puzzle for you to be promoted to the 5th type. As expected of a teacher, you can tell at a glance." Aisha Luo smiled and said, "However, he has not been promoted. Apart from not being able to find specific materials, he is also afraid that after becoming the 5th type, he will completely forget himself and become a monster. Weird promotions are not without risks. On the contrary, just like walking a tightrope, it is normal to take one wrong step and never recover. Well, that's a problem, so balance is key." Fang Xian glanced at Aisha Luo. "My alchemist's way, as long as you cultivate jelly to the 4th level, you are sure to be able to protect your sanity. If it is the 5th level, you can achieve perfect restraint. Completely control the strange power." "Really?" Aisha Luo's big eyes flickered, and suddenly said, "Then teacher, how about I go with you to face that unknowable ghost?" "No." Fang Xian shook his head immediately. "After all, he is also his own student. If he goes there, he might really die." "Humph, stingy." Aisha Luo snorted, her eyes rolled wildly, not knowing what she was thinking. He. Fang Xian rubbed her little head. "Don't think about any messy things. I say no, I don't. It's too scary there. The 5th type used to be like sending you to death." "Then what level are you, teacher?" Aishiro asked curiously. "Me." Fang Xian smiled, and suddenly his expression changed. "Okay, you can take them away." Aishiro was obviously confused. But immediately, she was picked up by Fang Xian's big hand, and she was thrown back. The surrounding void blurred for a moment. She blinked and found that she was already standing on the edge of the blockade. And a layer of grey fog has spread rapidly from the city center. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 476. After a few days. Secret Agency Headquarters. Fang Xian sat in Haig's seat, looking at a sticky note and a top-secret document. Code name, Mountains of Madness. An ordinary mountain range suddenly came alive, becoming extremely terrifying and crazy, polluting everything around it. The secret agency sent teams one after another, but all of them failed to contain them, and they also lost the strange king and the giant. Fang Xian glanced, and the last and most critical information, there is only one sentence: invisible, unheard, untouchable, unthinkable. Yes. Haig said in a deep voice, and glanced at the three strange kings around him, as well as the members of the day. Now we know it, and we will suffer a terrible curse at any time, unless we completely forget it, but we won't forget this time. We have to fix this. Very good. Fang Xian snapped his fingers, and a layer of grey mist spread, enveloping everyone, and disappeared in an instant. By the time they reappeared, they had already arrived outside a eerie mountain range. Everyone, bow your head. Haig ordered loudly. In my different dimensional space, to a certain extent, the outbreak of the curse can still be delayed. Fang Xian raised his head and looked at the pitch-black mountain and the surrounding black mist, with an excited smile on his face. So, what do you think, Your Excellency? How to find its body? Haig asked worriedly. It has no root, or, this level of weirdness cannot be treated with common sense at all. When you try to define it, you have already entered a misunderstanding. Fang Xian sighed. This is the commonality of the seven true gods. Is this the meaning of the message left by the two giants? Haig suddenly felt the deepest despair. Then what should we do? Fang Xian glanced at him. He knew that if this giant of the secret agency dared to make such a big gamble, he would definitely not be without a single card in his hand. Excluding those weak kings of weirdness, there are probably some special strange things. Although most of the weird things are not as good as the spirit removers with weird promotion routes. But there are also a few that are particularly evil or have special abilities. With the power of the secret agency, it must have such a background. Even, let two unknowable levels of weirdness confront each other and deal with it together. For them, it is the real perfect result, right? Fang Xian knew everything about it, but he didn't care. It's like a person watching a few ants discussing how to deal with themselves. Would they care? His mentality has gradually changed to the Great One. What should I do? Go ahead, I will use my personality to bless you and send you to the crazy mountains. You go to find the root of everything, and I will continue to suppress the crazy mountains from the outside world. At least, can't let it escape. Will a mountain run away? It sounds ridiculous, but it's proven to be true. As long as there are mountains, crazy mountains can complete the transfer, even, the mountains in the video, the mountains in the painting, and even the mountains in the dream. But all weird things, can't be judged by common sense. What? Black Hand's scalp tingled when he heard that. Even if he is the strange king of the secret mechanism, but in the mountains of madness, he can only die. Unfortunately, Fang Xian didn't give them much chance to accept. The dense grey fog suddenly surged like an overwhelming sky, layer upon layer, blocking the black mountains. They blended with the black mist and quickly devoured each other, showing a chaotic color. But Haig and others could no longer see this scene. The moment the grey mist emerged, they had been teleported to the inside of the crazy mountain range. Damn it, that weirdness, it just wants to play us to death. Hawkeye cursed, Minister, you know, it's not human at all, it's not worthy of trust. Yes, but we have no choice. Haig said frankly, no matter which unknowable level of weirdness continues to develop, our world will inevitably perish. Now is the best development, isn't it? It's very dangerous here. The gardener looked around. They seemed to be on a mountainside, surrounded by strange and exaggerated black trees. Prepare to explore, indeed, with the blessing of that one, at least we won't die for no reason because of the curse. Haig took a deep breath. The unknowable level of weirdness suppresses the king of weirdness, just like the king of weirdness faces ordinary weird things, it is crushing and incomprehensible. Only by relying on another person can they have the current ability to move. Action. A group of elites from the secret organization acted quickly. They were all members who went to the beverage store that day, and there were 23 of them in total. At this time, they were uniformly wearing black uniforms and looked very capable. Why, the other party didn't drop us at the foot of the mountain, but directly on the mountainside. Does this mean that the root thing may be bigger at the top of the mountain, and we need to climb it? A man in black said speculatively. But it's also possible that the crazy mountains did it on purpose. He Xiao looked at his bright red right palm with a low voice. Minister, there are discoveries ahead. A member called out quickly. Discovered so quickly? Haig frowned, and walked a few steps forward with the crowd. Once the dense black jungle was closed, as far as the eye could see, there was a small open space, bare and without any vegetation. Only in the center, a huge tree that seems to be made of white bones stands there alone. The hanged corpses hung in the air like silkworm chrysalis. There was no wind, but one of the corpses turned halfway strangely, facing Haig and the others. Hawkeye was the first to exclaim, and distanced himself from the black hand next to him. That corpse belonged to the black hand. It hangs in the air, its face is pale, covered with corpse spots, and its two palms have disappeared. That's not me. Black Kun spoke quickly, but the gardener could hear a slight tremor in his voice. This strange king is afraid. Perhaps, some feeling made him sure that what was hanging was indeed his own corpse. Curse of time? The gardener suddenly thought of a piece of information. When the king of weirdness is promoted to the king, he will come into contact with even more terrifying levels. Playing with time is indeed possible. Black Hand obviously also thought of this. He may die under the giant bone tree in the future, and be air dried here. This giant bone tree is also a strange thing, and it is controlled by two other giants, but they only have one branch, and it has completely lost control. Haig sighed and leaked more information. In the mountains of madness, not only the root cause must be dealt with, but there may also be various horrors left by the original losers. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 477. The pitch-black mountains, the strange giant bone tree, and his own corpse hanging from the tree. If ordinary people saw this scene, they would probably go crazy, or feel like they were dreaming. Even a professional spirit remover feels very uncomfortable at this time. Haig even suspected that if it wasn't for the blessing of someone on them, the terrible curse would have already erupted. Minister, the statistics have come out. There are 20 corpses hanging, all of us. Except me, the gardener, and you, everyone's corpses are on there. Hawkeye's eyes were so dark that ink was about to drip, and a white light flickered in the middle, and he said quickly. If it was before, I would try to recover this weird thing, but now, let's go around it. Its name is the Wailing of the Bones. It was originally just a bone, and I didn't even know it was completely out of control after that. It will grow to this size. Haig sighed. As for the law of killing, it's touch. Of course, that was before. Do nothing? Why not try to contain it directly? We have experience. The two palms of the black hand changed, the red one became more blood red, and a black hole appeared in the white palm, as if a tongue was greedily licking its surroundings. Black Hand, don't forget our mission. Haig frowned. You can't waste time and ability on irrelevant things. What's more, this may just be a trap, and there is no time curse. Perhaps getting rid of the giant bone tree here can save most people's lives? But Haig just thought about it and made a decision. He chose to avoid and sacrifice, even if the price was extremely terrifying. Bypass it and keep searching. Because they are afraid of being divided and broken, even if they are scattered, each spirit remover is actually in a very close distance. Go up. Haig touched an item on his chest and made up his mind. So. Let me open the way. Hai Xiao smiled ferociously, stood at the forefront, and a group of people plunged into the dark forest, climbing continuously. Gradually, Haig felt a little strange. As soon as he stepped out, he felt that his whole body was retreating. The surrounding void seemed to be shattered, and any slight movement would cause a huge change in direction and distance. If you go back, you might be going forward, and if you turn left, you might actually be going right. It is also possible that you only took one step, but you crossed a long distance, or you walked for a long period, and finally found that you were spinning in circles. The space around you is different, Gardner. Haig ordered immediately. In such a situation, it is natural that the King of Weird, who is proficient in different dimensions, would be safer to act. The gardener nodded silently. A handful of seeds were sprinkled around, the vines danced and produced beautiful flowers. A layer of illusory space emerges, which seems to be fighting against the surrounding fragmented space. The face of the gardener suddenly showed a look of difficulty, and the scope of protection continued to shrink. I may not be able to support it for a long time. This is still under the blessing of Fang Xian, otherwise, she might not even be able to open the space. Walk. On the contrary, Haig was firm in his determination and continued to move up. Ahead, ghosts appear. He Xiao's voice came, and he saw in front of him a woman with only half of her body, climbing on the ground with both hands, and kept approaching. Expel her. Haig calculated the distance and knew that there was no possibility for his side to escape. The right palm of the black hand stretched forward, and this palm of his was also obtained from a strange way. At this time, it extended forward, beyond imagination, like blood-colored tentacles. At the top of each tentacle, there was a weathered head, with a distorted expression, wide-open mouth. From that dark hole, it seemed that something terrible was about to overflow. In the outside world, the curse carried by each of their heads can cause an ordinary spirit remover to lose his life. But at this moment, those heads closed their mouths one by one. Correspondingly, the crawling speed of the half-body woman also became much slower. Can it only be suppressed? Black Hand felt a little restless, and was even more vigilant. He looked around and confirmed that there was no giant bone tree, and his left hand disappeared instantly. The next moment, a palm with a black hole in its palm appeared on the back of the woman's head, and a tongue sprang out, rolled her up, and swallowed her into the black hole. Successful. I'm really special, I'm the king of weirdness. I will not die here. Black Hand silently said to himself. The next moment, he looked at the returning left palm. In the black hole, the tongue seemed to be full, and spit out a piece of white bone. Some kind of induction immediately reminded Black Kund of the giant bone tree. No. His expression twisted, and he was about to fly this bone far away, but it was too late. Boom. The earth trembled, and suddenly layers of soil shattered like porcelain, revealing the pure white earth. No, those are huge bones. Us. The gardener exclaimed, we have been walking on the giant bone tree. What? Haig and Hawkeye no longer have the problem that the symbols do not conform to the logic of space, but thought of a more terrifying message. The law of killing the giant bone tree is contact. So, are they counted as contacts? The next moment, Haig only had time to grab the gardener and Hawkeye beside him, and a faint light radiated from his chest. Everyone feels that they have lost the ground under their feet, they are constantly falling, falling. Hawkeye felt a thick darkness sweeping over. All the strange abilities in his body were suppressed in an instant. Just when he thought he was going to die, a palm stretched out, and the shimmer spread. Snapped. He fell hard to the ground, surrounded by Haig and the gardener. All but the three of them were gone. No, they were right in front of them, on a giant bone tree, but they all turned into corpses. The Black Hand hung there too, missing both palms. The strange king's expression was pale, and many corpse spots appeared directly on the corpse. Curse of time, destined to die. Next to him, the gardener answered in a harsh voice. Haig remained silent, suddenly took out something from his chest, and threw it on the ground. Tell me, how to find its body next, right now. It was a brown hide with messy ink marks on the smooth side. The gardener and Hawkeye immediately looked at Haig. This is a top-level strange thing that I have mastered. It can provide unimaginable information support. Before, it told me that I should go to Ishiro. There is a solution to the problem. It is also it. I think I should obey the command of that existence, enter this mountain range. Haig said in a serious tone, but, I think I was probably deceived by it. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 478. An omniscient type of weird thing? A little white light in the pupil of the eagle eye kept looking at the animal skin, showing considerable distrust. According to my experience, most of the weird things that provide information are extremely dangerous and cunning. Yes, but at that time, we had no choice, and neither did humans. Haig looked at the animal skin and said in a deep voice, tell me, where is the root of the crazy mountain? On the animal skin, the originally pitch-black traces squirmed, like worms, and then combined into a text they could understand. There is no root. Damn it, I'll destroy you, I swear. Haig and the others almost vomited blood. But, the roots are emerging. A brand new message emerged on the animal skin, that is an existence that you cannot resist. In the face of the great, we are all insignificant like insects and ants. Minister, was this broken skin so long-winded before? The gardener asked suddenly. No. Before it was very, pretty words like gold. Haig obviously felt something was wrong. Now it makes me feel like a chatterbox, or a fanatic. You are going to die? On the animal skin, the original words faded, and more information emerged. Only greatness can resist greatness. It is a great honor for you humble bugs to die in the confrontation between two great men. Death. Confrontation. Hawkeye suddenly looked at his palm. There, some black spots have emerged and began to spread tenaciously. This is, a curse. He immediately used his strange power. All around, the faint sound of the flute came. But it was useless. Those black spots were extremely stubborn and showed no tendency to be removed. It is the curse of the mountains of madness. We have been cursed a long time ago, and we have survived until now only because of the protection of that person, and now, the curse has gradually suppressed the protection. This shows, the power of the mad mountain is growing, and its roots are condensing? The gardener analyzed. Then what's the point of our existence? Haig asked shakily. The life and death of insects and ants is meaningless. You can make the eyes of the great stop for a while, and you have already won the supreme glory. The animal skin behaved very strangely, as if it had given birth to the personality of, some kind of fanatic. Even Haig felt something was obviously wrong. He confirmed again that he was tricked by this strange thing. Then why did you save us just now? The time has not come. Beast quickly replied, you will witness greatness. Great again? The gardener said, this seems to be a certain level, corresponding to our unknown level. The origin of this strange thing is very problematic. Rumble. At this time, the huge black mountain range began to tremble crazily. The three of Haig raised their heads, and they could see the gray mist constantly eroding the black mist, and finally suppressed it. From the mountains, all kinds of strange things and ghosts emerged, like a little light, rushing to the sky, but they were all suppressed. That giant bone tree grew suddenly, turning into a huge white shadow that covered the sky and the sun, and it was like a big bone hand, grabbing towards the sky. But the moment it came into contact with the gray mist, it cracked inch by inch, turned into white pus, and penetrated into the ground. Terrible earthquakes emerge. A huge fissure in the ground opened, and a jet black liquid like petroleum gushed out. These liquids gathered rapidly, causing the void to twist and fluctuate. They are like flowing blood, gathering in mid-air, continuously merging, and taking the embryonic form of flesh and blood. In the end, they combined into a rapidly growing alien baby. The alien was deformed and twisted, but it did have the main features of a human. Just looking at it, Hawkeye's eyeballs exploded, and a pitch-black liquid flowed out. The origin of the crazy mountain appeared. Hake smiled wryly. Sadly, I don't seem to be able to do anything about it. He half knelt on the ground, filled with a deep sense of powerlessness. Finally, has it appeared? Fang Xian looked at the alien baby that appeared, with a smile on his face, but a little heavy in his heart. The embodiment of madness cannot be defined, and once it is defined, it falls into one-sidedness and error. However, the self that has the same characteristics as it can forcefully define it, appear in this world, and then disappear. It's just, is it in the form of a human baby? Fang Xian sighed deeply in his heart. This means that while constantly eliminating the crazy part, his and Nicole's madness are also merging and adapting to each other. The opponent's incarnation gradually became human-like. And I can never wash away the last bit of madness. At this time, no matter how much he wins, it will only allow Fang Xian's will to gain the upper hand with more rationality after the fusion. It is impossible to return to the former self. Even so, every time I eliminate an avatar, it can at least make me a little better. Fang Xian took a step forward and landed on the crazy mountains, standing in front of the hatching baby. The strange force field spread out. Boom. 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 It was just an invisible confrontation, and the three weird kings exploded. But it doesn't matter, Fang Xian brought them here just as cannon fodder. It was the piece of animal skin that made him take another look, a true lie. This is the first time he has seen the culprit that can be said to have caused the destruction of the two worlds. Honorable Great One. On the animal skin, many ink patterns trembled, and quickly formed a response. The evidence of lies sends my greetings to you. After the sentence, many black lines formed the appearance of a ghost face, trying to bring out a smile, as if trying to present a smiling face. Is this your real name? Where are you from? Fang Xian asked curiously. He could feel that this was a creation of a true god. I was created by the God with thousands of hands, thousands of faces and thousands of hearts. He is the Great One, the ruler of all things. The animal hide trembled, and a line of information emerged. Interesting, or is it worthy of being the creation of the true God? Otherwise how can you destroy two worlds with lies? Fang Xian chuckled, and grabbed the group of still-growing alien babies with his big hands. The huge alien baby also opened its eyes at this time. Its pupils were blood red, opened its mouth wide, made a shrill sound, and fought with Fang Xian without fear. This is fate, and no one can change it. No matter who wins or loses, it cannot stop the birth of that Great One. There was silence in the crazy mountain range. Only the animal skin was recording all this quickly. Its fur is trembling, and its words are twisting, recording the destruction of the two worlds, and such precious information will definitely be rewarded by the master of everything. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 479. Wow! The alien baby let out a loud cry. Its eyes were scarlet, and one after another sarcoma emerged on the surface of its body. Those sarcoids grew rapidly and turned into different ghostly appearances, bringing various curses. The invisible curse approached the gray fog, and immediately stirred up slight fluctuations in the fog. It seems that there are invisible objects colliding in the void, stirring up strands of sparks. Useless. Fang Xian's expression was indifferent, and the gray mist turned into a huge palm, grabbing the baby, as if he wanted to crush it directly. Next moment. Wow! There was a more mournful cry. On and around the body of the alien baby, a blue and pitch-black ocean seemed to emerge, and many octopus-like tentacles protruded from the ocean. The sea swept outwards, the waves beat, and the tentacles scattered the grey fog's palms, and swept towards Fang Xian. The surrounding environment is silent and distorted. Even the king of weirdness, or even the powerhouse of the fifth type, cannot survive in this environment. Only the true lie, or the evidence of lies, a gleam of light emerged on its surface, separating the Black Sea, and it became silent rarely, as if it was doing its best to resist erosion and pollution. Facing the turbulent sea, Fang Xian's expression remained unchanged, and he said, "The wind is coming." Hoo-hoo. The howling wind seemed to form a tornado around him. The empty and pitch-black sea surrounded him, turning into a huge vortex. In the center of the vortex, there is still an open space. Gang Shanine changes calls the wind and the rain. At Fang Xian's level, it's not just about changing the natural environment. He is communicating. Communicate with this world, and a real catastrophe befalls. Anything weird is a catastrophe for the world. I'll fix it for you, and leave this world. One message after another was sent by Fang Xian to communicate with the whole world. Compared with the crazy alien baby, he who possesses wisdom undoubtedly has a big advantage, Lei Lai. Above the crazy mountains, the gloomy weather became more and more terrifying, and fish-scale clouds spread and covered everything. Click. A thunderbolt fell. This is no ordinary thunder, it carries the anger of the world and the personality of Fang Xian. Stab it. Between the sky and the earth was completely white. The thunder struck the pitch-black sea, causing the sea to boil and evaporate a large part, and the thick tentacles were scorched and broken. And this is far from over. Crackling. In the sky, world thunders tangled together and fell down together. Thousands of thunders gather, like a white cage, trapping the strange baby inside. The Black Sea was continuously evaporated, and finally only a thin layer remained. But in the thunder and lightning cage, the baby's cries became more and more sharp and loud. All the thunder and lightning suddenly disappeared. The next moment, they appeared together above Fang Xian's head. This is the curse of space. The alien baby has moved the space of both sides, and Fang Xian will replace it to bear the terrifying attack. Stab it. A thunderbolt fell on Fang Xian. Even if he is a strange immortal body at this time, surpassing Vajra immortality by an unknown amount, there is a scorched black trace of lightning strikes on his shoulder. Sure enough, I am not a good thing to the world, if it can be solved, it must be solved together. Fang Xian complained, and stood against the thunder, and walked out of the white cage. He saw that the alien baby opened a long river of time. An indeterminate illusory river spreading to the past and future emerges, and a tributary is pulled down by it and poured into itself. The alien baby has received this irrigation, and its size is rapidly expanding, and it seems to be accelerating its growth, and its breath is getting stronger and stronger. If it was just a deformed child born in a hurry, now it looks a little like a child. But it's still ugly. Fang Xian smiled slightly, but didn't move. But in the long river of time, a shadow emerged, and its palm fell fiercely on the top of the strange baby's head, smashing its weird hairless head into the chest cavity. This is a sneak attack. From the past, it is the attack of Fang Xian from the past. What a different baby can do, Fang Xian can also do, or even do better. From the long river of the past, Fang Xian came out one after another. The situation is becoming more and more unfavorable for the baby, after all, it is in this world without the imprint of the past. So, by instinct, it began to close the river of time. Fang Xian's past body immediately became illusory. But at this time, his body had already arrived in front of the alien baby, and his palm fell on the alien infant's chest like a thunderstorm. Its chest was split open, and the head that had been shot in emerged, its red eyes were full of red light, and its black mouth opened, as if it wanted to swallow Fang Xian's palm in one gulp. With a flick of Fang Xian's palm, many thunderbolts bounced off the baby's forehead. It screamed, and its face began to melt. It's useless, the final winner must be me. With a sneer on his face, Fang Xian quickly accumulated advantages, trying to grind the baby to death. On proof of lies, brand new information emerged: a great man is about to win, and he will be glorified, but the greatest joy of living is to be able to see the variables. Next moment, the strange baby opened its scarlet eyes one by one, and flew forward. Despite being attacked by Fang Xian, its huge body turned into a blanket of meat, wrapping Fang Xian's upper body tightly. Its huge body continuously collapsed inward, and finally, it turned into a terrifying explosion. This is its last hole card, the tactic of dying together. Click. Click. The scene of the explosion was cracked inch by inch, and the intact Fang Xian and the strange baby emerged. What happened just now seems to be just a dream, or a scene from the future. However, the alien baby was still the same as before, flying over at any cost. Although it is crazy, even Fang Xian will be scruples if it tries its best. After all, Fang Xian didn't want to lose both sides. The alien baby opened many scarlet eyes, and the red light flooded the sky, blocking space and time. Fang Xian stepped back quickly, stretched out his hand to grab it, and a book of animal skins was already in his hands. True lies. Don't want. At this time, the text on the page seemed to be distorted by fear. Great existence, please forgive me, you will gain the friendship of the omnipotent God. Sorry, I don't believe a word of what you said. Fang Xian sneered and pushed it forward. The animal skin book suddenly became larger, like a solid wall, blocking the way forward for the alien baby. Wow! The power of the alien baby has been accumulated to the limit, coupled with the overflowing madness, it can't stop, and it doesn't want to stop. It suddenly turned into a ball of flesh and blood, wrapped around the wall of animal skin, and began to explode. Boom! Scarlet radiance. Looking from a high altitude, it can be seen that the black crazy mountains disappeared without a trace in an instant. There was no mushroom cloud rising in this explosion, but the impact and damage it brought was more terrifying than any bomb. Fang Xian even saw a gap opened in the world, and saw a large amount of unknown air rushing in, and everything swept by it was turned into dust and returned to nothingness. This is the world is broken. Well. Seeing this, Fang Xian couldn't help sighing. Bending the sky is such a hard work, but I can actually hit it. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 480. Extraordinary World. The experience in the strange world is so miserable, I actually want to mend the sky. Fang Xian shook his head. He had just descended into this world, and suddenly a strange expression appeared on his face. The incarnation of madness in this world has been wiped out. After all, it is a world with the existence of true gods. Fang Xian closed his eyes and began to sense dreamland. To be precise, it is the backhand that I left in dreamland, a trace of the immortal divinity of the fifth-level alchemist. In the next moment, his figure disappeared in reality, and appeared in the deepest part of dreamland, in a hall. Throne Hall. The majestic and simple hall remains the same as before. There are towering white marble columns all around, and there are 12 steps in front of it. Countless lights are dotted around, surrounding a stone seat at the highest point. Dreamland is a creation of the true gods. It has the power of Deluo and can send extraordinary people across the world. Even for me now, it's useful. Before, Fang Xian was worried that the existence of Dreamland would find him, so he directly chose Deluo to reincarnate and escape. But at the same time, it also left a trace of immortality as the backdoor and key. At this time, it really came in handy and sent him directly here. Fang Xian walked up the steps step by step, and sat directly on the white throne. Boom! Unlike before, at this time, he is also a true god. The huge power penetrated the deepest part of dreamland in an instant, and a brand belonging to other true gods was quickly refined. Even if it is level 6, it can't fully inherit dreamland, but after Fang Xian's thorough revision this time, even if the owner of dreamland comes, he can't motivate it anymore. After all, they are all true gods. I'm the equivalent of a real fishhook spit out. And eat the bait? Even if the other party repents, it's useless. Fang Xian smiled slightly, since they are both true gods, they have no scruples in many aspects. He thought for a while, and knocked on the stone throne. A kind of fluctuation, transmitted to the whole world. In the void battlefield, an existence shrouded in blood shivered all over, but he had no choice but to sigh and respond to the call. In the throne hall, the figures of Yumenxiang counselors emerged. Pocket watch, Mercury, morning light, doctor. Their aura is stronger than before, and they obviously got a lot of benefits. At this time, they all saluted Fang Xian, who was on the throne. Your Excellency Speaker, congratulations on your awakening. Fang Xian glanced casually. Everyone below suddenly felt a sense of being seen through. Especially the patron of the blood clan, Your Excellency Mercury. It feels like the one sitting above is an extremely terrifying existence. That feeling of majesty as hell, compared to true gods such as Iron Blood Lord, almost made him have an urge to kneel down. Especially, on the premise that he had a ghost in his heart, he almost wanted to cry and beg for forgiveness. Congratulations, Quicksilver, you have successfully entered the ranks of immortals. Fang Xian looked at Mercury and nodded slightly, knowing that he had really become a big shot. Your Excellency, please forgive the sins of my humble self. Fang Xian didn't say it was good, but when he talked about it, Shuiyan knelt down. Haha, I've already punished you, haven't I? Fang Xian laughed, and said indifferently. Immediately, his expression turned serious. When I woke up, I sensed that a terrible event had happened in the world. Recently, has any terrible existence descended? Indeed there are. Mercury breathed a sigh of relief, like a prisoner rescued from the gallows, and quickly replied, it was just last month, in the territory of the Narnia's empire, an evil creature comparable to a true god appeared. No, it seems that he came from the evil god from another world, is extremely crazy, extremely terrifying, and pollutes everything. Just after it appeared, it caused millions of deaths and injuries, even the immortals have fallen to a few. Fang Xian's expression suddenly became a little strange. Although the incarnation of madness has the rank of a true god, it is not a complete true god after all, but just an incarnation level. And the Narnia's empire where he descended is guarded by two true gods. What will happen, no one knows. Ms. Chen 11 continued, the madness of the evil god has polluted many people. In the end, two true gods descended into incarnations, cooperated with a large number of immortals, and strangled him, but the impact is still continuing, and the battlefield of the Great War has become a place where people can be compared to others. The secret realm is even more dangerous to the Jedi. In addition, the power of the evil god has also transformed a large number of dependents, which is bringing profound disasters to the Narnia's empire. In order to deal with them, the original emperor led the army to fight, and finally died in battle. Just listening to these, Fang Xian can feel the tragedy of the war. A true god, whether incarnated or created, must have a profound and long-lasting impact on the world. Just like the previous world, the proof of lies directly leads to the destruction of a world, and a world is close to destruction. But this world is better, after all, it has its own guardian spirit. Even so, the people of the whole world will still tremble with fear when they mention matters related to that evil god. Actually, this matter is not all bad. How great is the power of the evil god? How huge is the body? If he is a whale in the sea, then we are tiny plankton. Pocket watch, Your Excellency added, even if the whale dies, its whale fall will bring long-term and continuous benefits to the surrounding environment. I heard that the production of various extraordinary materials has greatly increased around that impasse, and some a special kind that can lead to entirely new career paths. Listening to what you said to the congressman, I will report in one sentence, Fang Xian has a better understanding of the development of this world. Moreover, it can be seen that they are not monolithic, but full of contradictions. However, this was what he wanted to see. Of course, it doesn't matter now. Boom. Fang Xian knocked on the chair and said in a deep voice, I woke up mainly to announce two things. The first thing is that I have become a god. The second thing is that Dreamland needs an update. God. Mercury's eyes widened. Although he had guessed for a long time, he still couldn't help trembling at this time. That is the other shore that many immortals pursue so hard, but can never touch. Your Excellency, the speaker turned out to be in a deep sleep in order to break through the true God. All the congressmen had a thought in their minds. No matter how they intrigue or plan before, in the face of absolute strength, they can only submit respectfully. Okay, you guys go out first, I'm going to update Dreamland. Fang Xian waved his hand and sent everyone away. Dreamland can be transmitted across the world, it is indeed the last hope of my believers in the spell world, Noah's Ark. In that world, when the stars are about to return to their positions, far more than one ancient ruler has awakened. Even Fang Xian can only protect some people. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 481. The World of Spells. Silverwing walked out of a villa in a white priest robe. This is a stronghold of the Creator mission. As the end is approaching, more and more insiders have fallen into despair. While frantically looking for a way out, he was also falling at an incredible speed. They are looking for all kinds of stimulation, using the darkest means to anesthetize themselves, chasing all kinds of forbidden pleasures, and some are creating people crazily, as if they hope to leave their own seeds of life before the end, but unfortunately even they themselves know that this is useless. Judgment is coming, great Creator, please forgive our sins. Silverwing held the teaching emblem and began to pray silently. He looks up at the sky. The dark night sky is cloudless, and the stars are bright and bright. In the eyes of Silverwing, who is proficient in mysterious astronomical knowledge, the seemingly disorganized stars have already begun to shift and are about to reach the correct position. This represents the arrival of the return of the stars, and many sleeping or sealed ancient rulers are about to wake up. Sudden. A strong fear, like a devil's sharp claws, grabbed Silverwing's heart. He looked at the starry sky, and saw from the direction of Fomalhaut, there was a crimson comet, dragging a long tail of flame, piercing the sky. The comet is also called the Broom Star, and since ancient times, it has represented ominousness and disaster. And Silverwing stared blankly at this rust-red comet that looked like a battle flag, trembling all over. The star of death, the star of decline, the star of retribution. He is the Lord of destruction and chaos, celestial bodies and stars. He is waking up. He has already woken up. He has come to this world and wants to call the world to war. The sky, the earth, the ocean, he will awaken all the ancient rulers, and he is the harbinger of the end. When he comes, the stars are in their right place, they are about to return, and they are about to wake up. Silverwing looked crazy, with a distorted expression, and shouted loudly, the end, because of the rust-red comet, has come. The originally noisy villa was dead silent for a while, and then there were all kinds of wailing and crying and screaming. Quick! Ready to open the channel of another dimension. The Creator mission will take away some pious believers. Birth and death are the common sense of the universe. Silverwing woke up, stroked her cheek, and felt the tears rolling down. But why? I'm still so sad. Secret castle. Observatory. Appeared, the first ancient ruler. Clark Carter looked up and saw the red comet. His spirit was trembling. Even if he swallowed the secret medicine of the highest transformation, it could not prevent the deepest and ancient emotions of human beings from emerging. That is fear. Extreme fear. This is no longer our headquarters, Your Excellency the legendary investigator. Why are you still sticking here? An old janitor walked up to Clark Carter and asked curiously, whether it's Tinder or the Ark project, there should be a place for you. I don't want to go, I don't want to go, this is our hometown, the headquarters of the secret keeper, my responsibility lies, let the young people who still have hope leave, I am old and tired. Clark Carter sighed, if the world is about to end, then I choose to welcome it. Phillip City. All family members have hid in the basement, and I have also checked the material warehouse, no problem. Smith came to Vivian, and Mickey also walked over. The three giants gathered together and looked up at the starry sky. The doomsday prophesied by the lost god has really come. Vivian's eyes were lost, and she sighed and murmured, but we still haven't been able to find his name, even if it's a blood sacrifice, where is our apocalypse? Perhaps at this time, the defense and materials in the basement are enough to support many people to escape the world war. Even if the heretics attacked, the lost religion was sure to stop them. But none of the three of them are sure about the real primordial ruler. If the lost god has never returned or awakened, then our best end is to die in an instant, without feeling any pain. Mickey seems to have seen it. My Lord promised us that he will return with the ancient rulers at the end of the day, bringing apocalypse and redemption. I believe it will be so. Smith held the pendant and said firmly. Good determination, let's appease the members and family members. Mickey smiled and nodded, don't worry too much, we are like a group of ants to the ancient ruler, who cares about ants? As long as you don't accidentally get trampled to death, there is still hope for survival. Boom. The next moment, they felt the trembling of the earth. From an extremely distant place, there was ample kinetic energy. A pillar of emerald green fire rose suddenly in the dark night, piercing the sky. This scene can be clearly seen even at an infinite distance. In the green flames, there seemed to be eyes, tentacles, embryos, slowly wriggling. Look down, don't look. Mickey's warning sounded immediately. I heard from the Creator mission that this is an ancient ruler sleeping in the magma layer, he has awakened. That direction, the cities around there, and the citizens. Vivian's voice was dry, and she fell into silence immediately. I received an emergency call, Smith took a note, his face changed wildly, the god who dominates the dream has appeared, can't sleep, dreaming will become extremely dangerous, he has already destroyed 3 religions who worshipped him. Group. The primordial ruler wakes up, and the summoning will become extremely simple. But this brought about a more serious disaster. Moreover, the ancient rulers never hesitated to slaughter their own believers, they didn't care about this at all. The other side of the planet. There seemed to be invisible dancers dancing in the void. Chaotic music sounded all around. The jumping of the notes seemed to form a more terrifying effect than the previous forbidden spell summoning the voice of the Creator. Several nearby cities, thousands of citizens, and even all animals and plants fell into madness in an instant. Some of them died directly, some started to spontaneously combust, and some were even transforming into monsters. Under this kind of influence, those who can survive successfully will undoubtedly become fanatics of this ancient ruler. Despair and fear spread across the planet. All the evil gods have entered the stage of carnival. And human beings, even cultists, are like ants at this time, constantly struggling on the verge of death. Destruction and death are approaching like never before. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 482. Secret Castle. Clark Carter summoned a bat-like monster, rode with the old janitor, and flew into the air. Just now, the former headquarters of the Secret Keeper, the island hidden by the gods, has been completely torn apart and submerged by the terrifying sea water surging from the ground. The seal is completely broken. The ruler of the sea who sleeps in the abyss, Nicola, is he going to wake up too? Clark Carter's voice was calm, without any emotion. Perhaps, after seeing this planet being abused by many ancient rulers, he has lost all his emotions. Below, the surging sea was surging. From the abyss, there seems to be a huge black shadow emerging, bringing a terrible sense of shock. Clark Carter looked away quickly. But it was a little late, a small scale grew on his face, and his left hand seemed to melt and become some kind of mollusk. A huge vortex emerges, displacing the sea water, revealing a trench that seems to connect to the abyss. From the trench, the huge body slowly rose. It's him. His body shape is like a giant in ancient legends, not only visually, but also spiritually. It brings an unparalleled sense of oppression. Just seeing him can make ordinary people stop beating and unable to breathe. His body is incomprehensible to ordinary people, and it may also be a material structure that violates the rules. It seems to have octopus tentacles and bat-like wings on the back. The next moment, all of this turned into illusion again. He seemed to be composed of countless long worms, a crazy thing made up of thousands of flesh and blood. In the next second, it seems to be composed of many superdimensional light spheres and cubes in physics, with gears and levers running, full of mechanical and sci-fi style. Ordinary mortals simply cannot understand the form of the primordial ruler's body. Each observation. If you are not crazy, it will have the same effect as a blind man feeling an elephant, seeing only one side, the side full of mistakes. Even so, this form still has divinity and indescribable power. Ho ho! Clark Carter was foaming at the mouth, feeling like his life was over. Desperate. Mr. Clark Carter? Standing next to him all the time, the ordinary old janitor suddenly smiled. He looked at the mutated Clark Carter and asked in a calm voice. I will not hand over despair to you, the evil god. Clark Carter seemed to be insane, but he squeezed out a sentence through his teeth. That's really regrettable. I think, among all the ancient rulers, I'm one of the few people who are friendly to humans. At least, you won't go crazy when you see my incarnation, because I am God of everything. The old man at the gate smiled and said, originally, I have prepared a favored person for you. It seems that you want to reject my kindness. Cheat. Clark Carter's body began to melt like a wax figure, but his voice remained firm. You are deceiving me. You like to play with human beings, and take pleasure in giving them the deepest despair. I would rather die than lose the last pride of being a human being. Yo, foolish person. The old man still smiled, but the God of all things is still willing to bestow grace on you. You will live as a monster, and it's really interesting to be that polluted favored one. He did nothing, but Clark Carter's melting had stopped. The legendary investigator suddenly turned into a monster that resembled a combination of an octopus and a human with scales, and lost his mind. You won't be crazy all the time, because your original ruler also has reason. This is very rare. The old man greeted Fang Xian's main body. Hello, the ruler of the new life. Fang Xian didn't care about this. In the ocean of consciousness, he is trying to adjust his will. Thanks to the victories in many reincarnated worlds, he spent part of his madness and let his rationality occupy more than half. At this point, he completely manipulated the body of the ancient ruler and began to transform into a human. The indescribable, nameless gigantic monster gradually became comprehensible. Many tentacles curled back, turning into human palms and fingers. A giant floated in the ocean, and its size was still shrinking. His spirit has risen infinitely, and he has completely grasped his true spirit. The attribute bar is in front of him, and there are no more secrets. Boom! The attribute bar roared, and the content about the 7th level of the alchemist emerged in detail. I want to break through the 7th level of alchemist, and I'm still one step away. As a Taoist, I will completely control the concept and authority of alchemist, and sit on that throne. The way of Deluo is the eternal existence of all time and space, and it can also be regarded as the self that restrains all worlds. Once achieved, all alchemists in the future will not be able to surpass me, unless they defeat me, the master of the Tao, with the 6th level alchemist's way. A lot of enlightenment emerged in Fang Xian's heart. His eyes were far and wide. He saw Ishiro in the strange world, and the demon clan and alchemists in the ancient world. Take it back. What I have sown, will now be reaped. With the thought of Fang Xian, some invisible objects returned to him at a speed beyond time and space. This is the concept of manipulation at the Deluo level. At this moment, alchemists in many worlds suddenly felt empty, feeling that they had lost something important, and even failed in alchemy due to this, and even went mad. But when they checked themselves, they found that Ji Li hadn't weakened in the slightest. What they lost was a more precious opportunity to go further, beyond Fang Xian's possibility. Today, I become a big Luo. The giant returned to the form of a normal person, and a layer of black robe directly surfaced on the surface of the body. With the thought in Fang Xian's mind, the attribute bar appeared. Fortunately, I have been vigilant. Sure enough, there is nothing good for no reason in the world, unless you are good to yourself. The golden finger in the attribute column was originally given by the present me to the past me. It contains a copy of Deluo's origin, and the present me, the perception of the 7th level of the opponent. He chuckled and saw the long river of the past. The light and shadow flowed, and suddenly flew back, reaching the moment of death and reincarnation of Fang Xian's first life. Go. Fang Xian flicked his finger, and the attribute bar turned into a little light, falling on his past self. While losing this point of essence reappeared in him, without the slightest defect, neither increasing nor decreasing. Deluo's way is so mysterious.